Hello, I'm Kimberlie, and welcome to the weekend edition of the Native News Update. It's Friday, November 30th, and many of the stories you hear here can be found at IndianCountryNews.com. And here's the news for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. South Dakota's Indian Child Welfare Act directors said in a report that they plan to send to Congress that South Dakota willingly has violated federal law by removing too many American Indian children from their homes and placing them in foster care with non-Indian families. 6 of the state's 9 directors representing each of the 9 tribes in South Dakota met November 29th on the Yankton Sioux Reservation to approve the report that will go to Congress within the next few weeks. The report is in response to a national public radio series last year that said that the state routinely broke the Indian Child Welfare Act and disrupted the lives of hundreds of Native American families each year. Federal law requires that the Native American children removed from homes be placed with relatives or put in foster care with other Native American families, except in unusual circumstances. After the series aired, 6 members of Congress wrote to Indian Affairs at the Department of the Interior asking whether the NPR report was accurate, and if so, what the Bureau of Indian Affairs plans to do about it. Federal officials said a summit would be held in South Dakota in the summer of 2012 to address concerns raised in the series, but that summit has not taken place, so the Indian Child Welfare Act directors prepared their own report to send to lawmakers. According to an official with the Indian Land Tenure Foundation, after months of high-profile fundraising that drew celebrities' attention in dollars, Sioux Nations in South Dakota had raised $9 million to buy a piece of land in South Dakota's Black Hills that they consider sacred. The land, known as Pe Sla, went up for sale after being privately owned by landowners Leonard and Margaret Reynolds. The fundraising effort drew support from several celebrities. P.Diddy tweeted about it, as did Bette Midler, who also donated. Army leaders and Native Americans gathered at the Pentagon November 28th to commemorate the importance of a recently signed Army policy directive that recognizes the sovereignty of American Indian tribes. Emmy Award-winning Iroquois vocalist Joanne Shenandoah opened the ceremony by singing the national anthem. Catherine Hammock, the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Installations, Energy and Environment, opened the event by telling the audiences that the policy memorandum was a milestone for the Army and was the first such policy to institutionalize principles on how the service promised to interact with Native sovereignty. Secretary of the Army John M. McHugh signed the policy directive October 24th. November 30th marks the 30th anniversary of the release of the self-proclaimed King of Pop's landmark Thriller album. This day also marks the $1.5 million win on the Michael Jackson King of Pop wide area progressive slot machine, which is manufactured by Bally Technologies. The winner, Tammy DeMar, a Lakota Ojibwe tribal member, won on her first spin, spending $3.20 for the max bet.
Very nice. Number 3, jackpot idea.
DeMar played her luck and won at the LCO Casino on the Lakota Ojibwe Reservation near Haywood, Wisconsin. The casino was the first in the Midwest to have the Michael Jackson-themed slots available and have only had them on their floors for 2 weeks. After 160 years of negotiating for their rights with the U.S. government, the Chinook Nation continues the fight. The Chinook, which is the most visible and likely least legally recognized Native American tribe in the Pacific Northwest, plan again next year to push in Congress for restoration of their tribal status. The 2,700 members want legal status to run schools, health services, tribal fish ceremonies, and businesses. Tribal Chairman Ray Gardner, Tribal Vice Chairman Sam Robinson of Vancouver, and former Pacific County Congressman Brian Baird plan to go to Washington, D.C. as early as February to open a new round of negotiations, hoping to revive H.R. 3084, the Chinook Nation Restoration Act, which Baird sponsored back in 2009. Gardner said that this week he is very hopeful about the tribe's chances. He testified in U.S. Senate and House hearings where the national tribal recognition issues were being ironed out earlier this year. He also sees a possible path to recognition by the executive order from President Barack Obama. Stacy Leeds, Deans of the University of Arkansas School of Law in Fayetteville, Arkansas, will receive the 2013 Spirit of Excellence Award from the American Bar Association Commission on Racial and Ethnic Diversity in the Profession. The award, which celebrates the accomplishments of lawyers who promote a more racially and ethnically diverse legal profession, will be presented February 9th during the ABA mid-year meeting in Dallas, Texas. Cherokee Nation citizen, Leeds is the first Native American woman to be a law school dean. The first and only woman to serve as justice on the Cherokee Nation Supreme Court, Leeds is also one of 5 appointees to the Secretarial Commission on Indian Trust Administration and Reform. The National Museum of the American Indian in Washington, D.C. will be screening the documentary film Dakota 38 daily in their theater for the whole month of December. In the spring of 2005, Jim Miller, a Native American spiritual leader and Vietnam veteran, found himself in a dream riding on horseback across the Great Plains of South Dakota. Just before he awoke, he arrived at a riverbank in Minnesota and saw 38 of his Dakota ancestors hanged. At the time, Jim knew nothing of the large mass execution in the United States history ordered by Abraham Lincoln on December 26, 1862. Dakota 38, now available on DVD, is the story of Jim Miller and a group of riders who retraced the 330-mile route of his dream on horseback from Lower Brule, South Dakota to Mankato, Minnesota, to arrive at the hanging site of the anniversary of the execution. This is the story of their journey, the blizzards they endured, the native and non-native communities that housed and fed them along the way, and the dark history that they are beginning to wipe away.
This ride came through a vision of a man by the name of Jim Miller.
In 2005, when I received this dream, as any recovered alcoholic, I made believe that I didn't get it. I tried to put it out of my mind, but it's one of them dreams that bothers you night and day.
In his dream, he seen all these, the 38 basically being hung at the same time, and they were all reaching out, holding each other's arms.
I mean, the cars couldn't even see. The horses were like doing this, like faces, the wind's coming from this way and everybody's going this.
We're going to show up in Mankato at the hanging site on December 26th at 10 a.m., which is the anniversary of them 38 that were hanged.
We don't have to blame the Washichos anymore. We're doing it to ourselves. We're selling drugs. We're killing our own people. And that's what this ride's about, is healing.
This film was created in line with Native healing practices. In honoring their ceremonies, they are screening and distributing Dakota 38 as a gift rather than for sale. For more information on the film, you can check out smoothfeather.org/Dakota 38. More people on the White Earth Reservation and beyond are now waking up to a cup of joe, the morning show that is, which is once again being broadcast on Niijii Radio. The Callaway station, located at 89.9 on the FM dial with the call letters KKWE, was shut down for several months after it was struck first by lightning, then by thieves who reportedly got away with expensive studio equipment. All summer and into the fall, the station sat completely disenabled, from its studio to its volunteer base to its management. Now, 1 year after the station initially hit the airwaves, it's back up again. According to Niijii Radio General Manager Margaret Razu, supporters of the station not only did fundraising to get Niijii back on the airwaves, but a $20,000 state grant put them back where they needed to be. In addition, the station also received a $115,000 grant from the Legacy, Art, Culture, and Heritage Fund of Minnesota to create local programming. The station will also be holding a fundraiser in Minneapolis, Minnesota called Ashki Akin at the Parkway Theater on December 20th. To find out more on the fundraiser or the station, log on to nijiiradio.com. And Native American actor Noah Watts, a member of the Crow tribe, is the lead character in one of this fall's best-selling video games, Assassin's Creed III. Watts portrays Connor, a half-British, half-Mohawk assassin in the time of the Revolutionary War. As with past versions of the game, the crux of the plot is assassins versus Templars. The Ubisoft-produced game is a rarity in giving a Native American character the lead role. It was released October 30th, and on one software chart already is listed as number 5 globally for sales.
Welcome to the Assassins.
Kanandoko, is the village all right?
Men came. They forced us to leave.
You must refuse.
Let me tell you something, Kama. Life is not a fairy tale, and there are no happy endings.
What would you have me do? I made a promise to my people.
In your haste to save the world.
Watts, an actor and musician who lives in Los Angeles, was born in Livingston and grew up in Bozeman, Montana. Like the character in Assassin's Creed III, Watts comes from a blended background. His mother is Crow and a descendant of the Blackfeet tribe, while his father's side of family is from Scottish and English. And that's another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. I'd like to thank you for joining me, and have a grand day.